wanting to share with you today about my journey of fertility and pregnancy and breastfeeding on a whole food plant-based diet. I get a lot of questions about this, so I figured it was time to make a video, and I'll have an accompanying blog post on my website, faithfulplayful.com. I had a rough start to my journey of having children, as you'll hear, but it's going really well now. And I'm not an expert in this field, and I do not make the claim that if you do what I do, you will have my same results. Everyone is so different, but I'm only here to share my experience. Genes, health history, and circumstance all are very different for us, and I don't judge you for how you eat or think. And pregnancy outcomes are totally not always within our control, not by any means. But here's my experience. I have had 3 successful pregnancies in the past 4.5 years, and I have felt really good during my pregnancies. I've never thrown up, I haven't had debilitating nausea, I've had really great energy, and I've gained between 18 and 25 pounds each time, and have lost that weight effortlessly within a month or 2 of giving birth. I've breastfed my babies for at least a year and never once used even a drop of formula. I have never had gestational diabetes or pain during pregnancy or even postpartum depression. So first we'll get into the fertility aspect. This next part of the story is very sad and not really related to my diet, but it's vital to understand my circumstances and why I have the births that I do. Anyway, so despite my inconsistent menstrual cycles, I miraculously somehow got pregnant twice fairly easily early on being married, and at about 20 weeks, we lost that first baby. I have discovered now from that experience that I have an incompetent cervix. So my cervix just opens up without any symptoms when the baby gets heavy around 20 weeks. It was absolutely heartbreaking and a very hard time of life. The sad thing, again, is that I had a cerclage done, where they sew your cervix shut to prevent a preterm labor, and that failed, and we lost our second baby. They were both boys at 22 weeks gestation. That baby just lived about an hour. It was a horrific time for us. At this point, I was 25 years old, and I was wondering if I would ever have living children. I then discovered through Facebook groups of other women with my condition about a hopeful procedure that I could have done. It's much more invasive than the cerclage that had failed, and basically I have permanent bands that hold my cervix tight so it can never dilate to give birth. And so now, at this point, hopefully, I was able to sustain a full-term pregnancy, but my menstrual cycle was more off than ever before. I would go 60 to 90 days without a period, never knowing when it would come. And when it did, it was terribly painful. I saw a fertility doctor who said I was not ovulating and probably had PCOS. We were surrounded by friends having babies, and I was the only wife in our circle without a baby or 2. And I watched other people live the dream that I prayed for, and it was one of the hardest times of my life. I wished our first 2 babies had lived. I wished for something to look forward to. I did ovulation test strips every day for months, only to get negative after negative. I was super confused as to how to eat for fertility. I was working at this time while my husband was in grad school, and I was basically eating vegetarian. I thought I ate really healthy with all the fruits and vegetables and no meat and very little processed food. I didn't eat too much sugar, but little did I realize how much I could improve. I tried a sugar-free, gluten-free diet for a while, and that didn't really seem to make a difference. I prayed and searched for answers. My internet searches results were overwhelmingly suggesting a low-carb, high-fat diet for fertility. I mean, just Google it. Diet for fertility. It's going to be the high-fat thing. And my husband started to go down this high-fat train, wanting to put coconut oil in my smoothies, hoping it would help me. But it didn't feel right to me. I had leaned vegetarian for about 10 years, and I did not want to start eating more meat. And my religion and the story of Daniel in the Bible teaches that grains are good and meat should be eaten sparingly. so I didn't want to start going low carb. I was very conflicted, desperate to do something to make a change in my body. And as I prayed and sought inspiration from God, I slowly started to find resources and feel guided towards a whole food, plant-based diet. So I stopped eating dairy and eggs, which is not easy, and I tried to eat less sugar and fewer processed foods. And we were on a very low budget then, but we still did that. And after 9 months of trying to conceive, I became pregnant with our daughter, who has been the light of our life. And since then, I have maintained a whole food, plant-based diet, and I was able to conceive our next 2 babies the very first month of trying. And with that 9-month struggle before, it feels amazing to have 0 struggle, to just get pregnant exactly when you want to. And that's what I hope for all of you who are watching. I should add here that ever since changing my diet, my menstrual cycles have been totally different. I actually have one every month when I'm not pregnant, obviously, which hasn't been that much in the past 5 years, but and they're not painful anymore. That makes a lot of sense because when you're eating lots of fruits and vegetables and legumes and whole grains, you're going to lower the total inflammation in your body, and lowering your inflammation really decreases menstrual pain. There's an article linked below about foods that fight menstrual pain if that's something you're going through. So through all of my pregnancies of my 3 living children, I have eaten a whole food plant-based diet with very little animal products at all. Only in social settings have I eaten some dairy and eggs. I've had no meat, not even any fish, even though every pregnancy app will tell you to eat fish when you're pregnant. I've tried to really focus on what to eat and not just what not to eat. So I really try to eat leafy greens every day, like in a green smoothie or in a big salad at lunch or dinner. I try to only eat like homemade treats that are made with whole grains and limited sweeteners. There's usually some dates or beans even in there, nuts, fruits. Yes, beans. If you haven't made my chickpea chocolate chip cookies, you've got to. They are our main cookie recipe. So considering my family history of diabetes and my symptoms of not having consistent cycles for so long, not ovulating, I do believe that I had PCOS, and that's one of the major fertility conditions affecting many people in our society. And it's also able to be managed a lot through a diet, which is great news because it's something in your control. Anyway, so here's some of the reasons why I think switching my diet helped with that fertility struggle, the science behind it kind of. So in PCOS and in a lot of infertility, there's excess hormones, often excess androgens or excess estrogen. And fiber absorbs excess hormones and can get rid of them out of your body. But if you're not eating any fiber, fiber's only found in plant foods, by the way, whole plant foods. There's a good chance that if you're just eating like eggs and chicken and dairy, and that's a big part of your diet, then there's no place for those excess hormones to go, and they just get reabsorbed back into your bloodstream, creating hormone imbalance. Only 5% of Americans are eating enough fiber. And so chances are, if you're one of that 95%, you may benefit from a greater variety and quantity of whole plant foods. Aside from fiber, I think another ticket to my improved fertility was ditching dairy. And what I thought was a moderate amount of dairy was still clearly influencing my hormones. Cow milk is very rich in estrogen, particularly because cows are often pregnant when they're producing the milk. And milk also has a lot of lactose, which has also been shown to decrease fertility. There are some excellent studies that are referenced in this book, Your Body in Balance by Neil Barnard. And I read this and it really helped clarify a lot of the reasons why a whole food plant-based diet actually works for fertility. And there is story after story after story of women who have changed their fertility and, achieved their dreams in life because they were willing to switch up their diet. To me, it's very exciting. Another reason why my diet affected my fertility is because, especially with PCOS, it's very related to insulin resistance. And women with PCOS tend to have a lot of insulin resistance. And so when you're eating a lower fat diet, your body has less fat in the cells, and it helps insulin to be more effective in your body, and you don't have to produce so much of it. You don't want your body to have to produce so much insulin. And so I started to eat less, it's not even less sugar necessarily, that's the ticket here. It's less saturated fat and total fat. So not just a vegan diet, but like a whole food plant-based diet, which is really rich in fiber and lower in fat, which helps keep your blood sugar stable. And anyone researching hormones is quickly going to see that blood sugar and insulin are very related to hormones and your sex hormones in particular. And so that's just one example of why a whole food plant-based diet can make a huge difference in your fertility. Talking about pregnancy now, how to have a healthy whole food plant-based pregnancy. I have tried to take a food-derived prenatal vitamin. I get lots of questions about which prenatal to take. So this is one that I took, I still do, Vitamin Code, and it is derived from food as opposed to synthetic vitamins. So I always try to take vitamins coming from a natural source instead of a man-made factory vitamin. For example, a lot of prenatals have folic acid in them, and folic acid has often been shown to, it can cause cancer, particularly breast cancer. I have a link below of an article of why you need folate and not folic acid. But anyway, I like that these food-derived vitamins have folate or nothing at all. I've also taken the Joel Fuhrman prenatal, it's called Gentle Prenatal. So I have some links below of food-based prenatals that I like. Another important thing to have when you're trying to conceive or pregnant is a DHA and an omega blend. A lot of people take fish oil, and a lot of prenatals have fish oil in them, which is not okay with me because fish have heavy metals in them, and even if they're taken out, there's still the whole aspect of, you know, cruelty for fish, and it's just not necessary. Fish are a middleman between algae and us, and the fish get their omegas from algae, so why not just get your omegas from algae too? So I've taken this off Amazon, which is an omega-3, and it has to say derived from algae on there, or say vegan or something like non-fish. And then you will also get those fishy burps. I've never taken fish oil, so I wouldn't know, but I hear all about the fish burps. This you don't have so much. Although algae does kind of smell a little bit fishy. I'm currently taking the Juice Plus brand of omegas, and I love that it comes from algae oil, pomegranate seed, raspberry seed, tomato seed. Like that's where the omegas are coming from. And I have a link below for that too if you're interested. Other tips I have for trying to conceive is to track your ovulation. That is the window, like knowing your cycle and knowing your body is the window into your body to figure out what is going on in there. And the first step to fixing issues and just knowing what to pursue. If you want to avoid hormonal birth control or all types of birth control contraptions, I prefer like a fertility awareness method for preventing and achieving. And this is called the temp drop. I've had it a long time. As you can tell, it's old looking. But at night before you go to bed, you just turn it on and you wear it with this little sensor facing your arm like this, and you just sleep. That's all you have to do. And in the morning, you just take it off, and that's it. And you can just do that every day, and then every time you want to sync it to your phone, like every few days, I'll sync it to my phone, and there's an app, and it will track your temperature, and you can learn the fertility chart and know what's going on in your body and where you're at. So when there's a rise in temperature, you'll know that you've ovulated, and you can kind of learn when to predict that ovulation. If you never get that rise, you know you're never ovulating and you might have PCOS or some kind of fertility issue. So tracking your temperature in some way, you can just use a thermometer, but if you're up during the night a lot, I find the temp drop very helpful because you can be up and down and it kind of takes your base temperature over the course of the whole night. Another resource I recommend if you're trying to conceive is the book Taking Charge of Your Fertility. There are other ones out there, that's just the one that I've used, but there are lots of ways to know what's going on with your fertility through awareness. It doesn't have to be strictly with your temperature. Moving on to breastfeeding. As I mentioned, I have exclusively breastfed my 3 living babies. They've never had a drop of formula or cow's milk. A whole food plant-based diet is excellent for having a good milk supply because breastfeeding moms are encouraged to eat fruits and vegetables and whole grains at every meal, which are the staples of a whole food plant-based diet anyway. Did you know that breast milk is composed of 87% water and 7% carbohydrate, 4% fat, and 1% protein? So it's 95% water and carbohydrates. So you've got to eat water and eat carbs. Drink water, eat carbs. Because eating low carb or like a keto lifestyle has made women unable to produce milk. It is not the way for milk production. And I'm sure if you're watching this, you're not going that direction. But some of the best lactogenic foods are just my natural staples anyway. So like oats and flax seeds and chickpeas are really good milk producing foods, and I eat those all the time. In fact, check below in the description for a link to my favorite lactation cookie recipe. They're delicious whether you lactate or not. They're just a yummy, wholesome cookie that has oats and flax seeds in them, which are really good for producing milk. You're probably doing enough even if you're not feeling like engorged all the time, you know. You don't really know how much milk they're getting. You can't see it, especially if you don't ever pump or anything. I have no idea how many ounces a day my baby eats, but it's just how it is. So cravings. How do we deal with cravings? Especially when you're pregnant and breastfeeding, the cravings can be intense. I personally have craved cheese a lot when I'm pregnant. That's the main thing, especially bagels and cream cheese. Those are my main cravings. And I just don't have them around because I know that's not good for me and I don't want to feel the yuckiness of eating cheese. But it's a personal thing. If you want to give in to your cravings, you do you. You know, you do it. Maybe you feel like it's your body telling you you need a certain nutrient. There is that philosophy. I personally am not convinced that cravings indicate nutrient deficiency. I do think your intuition is wise though, and if you really listen to what your body needs, not just what you want, I think your intuition can tell you what you really do need. How to get enough calories when you're pregnant or breastfeeding on a whole food plant-based diet. I think it's just really important to listen to your body and to eat enough and to eat a whole range of foods, not just fruits and vegetables, not just salads and smoothies and stuff. So I eat a lot of oats, I eat whole grain bread, I eat rice, I eat quinoa and beans and lentils and tofu and tempeh and potatoes and butternut squash and calorie-rich foods. Also, like, I eat a lot of peanut butter and almond butter and almonds and walnuts and nuts and stuff like that, and seeds. If you can't do nuts, there's still plenty of seeds: pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, sesame seeds, chia seeds, flax seeds. It's just not hard to get enough calories if you're eating 3 meals a day and some snacks, or basically just honoring your hunger cues and eating whenever you're hungry. It's very doable. If you need to make little cookies or like muffins or you know, batch cook foods to have, that makes it a lot easier. So I'll have like some whole grain waffles, like oat waffles that I keep in the freezer for like a quick snack. Those are very calorie dense. Energy balls made of like nut butter and maple syrup or dates and oats and flax seeds and chia seeds and stuff. The lactation cookies that I have the link posted to below. Just to not be afraid of eating when you're hungry. You're going to get enough calories. So I'll just tell you what I eat because it doesn't really change that much. I eat the same thing whether I'm pregnant or breastfeeding or postpartum or whatever, or not. It's pretty much always the same. It might just vary in quantity, and I'll try a little harder to get like flax seeds and leafy greens and stuff in those special circumstances. I usually have some kind of grain and fruits and vegetables for breakfast. So for me, that's usually like a bowl of oatmeal with like berries, fruit, some seeds in it, a little drizzle of maple syrup, some cinnamon. It's delicious and very filling, and I'm not ever hungry until lunch, really. If I eat enough. If I eat like a tiny bite of my kids' oatmeal and just a smoothie, then I'm probably going to be hungry in a couple hours. But I often have a bowl of oatmeal and a smoothie, or just oatmeal. But I never have just a smoothie, because if I do that, I'm not going to get enough calories and I'll be hungry. But you can make a huge loaded smoothie and put like lots of seeds in there and some oats or like some nut butter or something, and that could carry you through for a long time. You just have to feel it out. I'll also do like a vegetable hash sometimes with potatoes and zucchini and mushrooms and peppers and stuff, tons of seasonings. But I'm usually hungry if I eat that for breakfast, so I have to have like a big snack. And then I just never skip meals. I always eat lunch. I have like a big salad or leftovers. And if I do have a salad, I always have like some kind of grain or bean with it, and like usually some avocado, which is pretty high calorie. Even just a peanut butter and like jam sandwich on whole grain bread and some fruit. Usually I have leftovers. And then for dinner, you guys know my dinners because you follow me on Instagram probably, and I post my dinners a lot. But I make it really delicious and I eat as much as I want. I never have to worry about portion control. So I guess that's how you get enough calories, is you just eat as much as you want of the healthy stuff. To me, it's not that hard to get enough calories. I had a question about which herbs and supplements to take during pregnancy. I love herbs. I think there's a whole world out there that I do not understand very well yet. I would love to learn more about herbs, but honestly, I don't really take any. My main health supplement is just the food that I eat. I think there are some great sources if you're trying to conceive in particular. One that I took in the beginning was Vitex, or chasteberry, it's also called. And that's really supposedly very good if you're trying to conceive, especially for polycystic ovarian syndrome. And then maca root is another supplement that you might be interested in when you're trying to conceive. They say not to take it when you're pregnant though, but any other time of life, it's a really nutritious supplement. It kind of tastes like malt, so I like to stir it into like hot chocolate, or you can put it into a smoothie or stir it into your oatmeal or something. It's not a bad flavor at all. You can just order it on Amazon, maca powder. But the main thing I would recommend as far as herbs and supplements is just a really good prenatal, lots of fruits and vegetables. If you're not getting enough, maybe something like Juice Plus, which is fruits and vegetables basically in capsule form to supplement with. This is not a promo video for that, but it might help you. But basically just your diet is like the main supplement that I recommend. My baby's up and this video has to come to an end. But if you have more questions about my experience, I read a lot about nutrition and fertility and overall health and hormones. So if you have any questions, I'm always happy to chat about that. I truly do believe that God can guide you and you can know what's going on in your body and what you need to do and eat. I believe that the power of food is big and real and strong, and that you have the self-discipline that you need to eat the way that is best for you and your body. It has been the greatest joy of my life to be a female and to produce these precious children. There's no greater power. I hope it's an amazing experience for you. Thank you for watching.